Real esoteric spirituality without all of the fluff, without all of the nonsense. This is the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. Click subscribe and then hit the little bell button so that you can be notified whenever I've uploaded a video or when I'm doing the live Q&A videos. Hello, Thunder Wizards. So, today I want to talk to you about dwarves. Specifically when it comes to magic, manifesting your intentions. And I'm going to share with you some information that came to me through some lucid dreaming that I did about dwarves. Before I get to that, we need to talk about what dwarves are. So dwarves are not just little people with funny hats on. That is modern folklore. And modern folklore about what dwarves are comes from during the Middle Ages when the Christian church was seeking to destroy indigenous spiritual beliefs. And so what they did was they made fun of those beliefs. And so that's why now when you think of a dwarf, you think of like this gnome character with a pointy hat and a beard and, that kind of thing. That's not what dwarves are. Dwarves are extremely powerful beings. Extremely powerful, magical, spiritual beings that live in their own realm, which is connected to our conscious universe. We're going to get into that. The title of this is that dwarves are doorways. Another way is to look at them as portals to magical creation, to magical power. And so let's go into the mythology. According to Norse mythology, when the universe was being created, the life force energy of the universe, which was the blood and the body of the giant Ymir. Ymir means dual or twin. And it actually represents the Norse way of talking about the interaction of yin and yang, male and female, because Ymir, the giant, that was the first being that came into physical existence when the universe was coming into being, said his feet mated with each other, and the mating of his 2 feet created then all of the giants. And when the giants represent physical laws of the universe like time, gravity, space-time, all of those big things. That is the fusion of the yin and the yang, the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine. And so when Odin, Vili, and Ve, which represents the 3 dimensions of reality. Remember, all of these things have conscious awareness. So when I use modern scientific terms like life force energy or gravity, time, space-time, we see them as these forces that have no intelligence. But from an indigenous religious perspective, all of these things have their own conscious intelligence. They have awareness. That's why we don't talk about it, the opposing forces of yin and yang. We talk about it as the giant Ymir, whose feet mated with each other. And that the gods, Odin, Vili, and Ve, conscious awareness, willpower, spiritual experience, these 3 dimensions of space-time create the boundaries of the universe with the body and the blood, the hair, the bones of this giant. From that, from the universe all around you, up, down, here and there, all of the energy, the ambient energy floating around, this is Ymir's body, life force energy, which has its own consciousness and awareness. From that, the gods began to fashion humanoid beings called dwarves. And then these dwarves went out to create things. The four directions, north, south, east, and west, are dwarves. These are powers that create the physical reality that we live in. It's important to understand that these are humanoid. They're not humans, they're humanoid. And when you look at all of the names of the dwarves, because in the Voluspa a big list will be given to you of all the names of the dwarves, you will find human, emotional, psychological names, which tells you that humanoid means these are emotional beings, and that emotions are made up of conscious life force energy. It is the dwarves that create all of the magical tools. Odin's, sorry, that's something else. All of the magical tools that and gifts and powers that the gods have come from the dwarves. Interestingly enough, we've talked about the magical rope that binds Fenris, the wolf that will be part of destroying this age. And he is so powerful that when he opens his jaws, he threatens to swallow the whole universe. And the only thing that keeps him bound is this magical thread-like rope created by whom? The dwarves. And we're going to get to that in a second. So the dwarves are emotional beings. They are beings made up of emotion, which is why in modern mythology, which I'm talking about, Tolkien, and I do believe that Tolkien has transmitted magical shamanic truths in his mythology. I do believe that we can put him into, the collection of mythology for ancient Europe. I would put him in there because I believe that he was channeling information, whether he realized it or not. And the dwarves are magical beings, which means that magic and emotion, human emotion and magic go together, which means that human beings are magical creatures. And what gives us the ability to create magic is our dwarf nature. And I go into great length in a lot of different videos and books talking about how dwarves are the beginnings of human consciousness. And that human consciousness is a middle point between the dwarf nature and the elf nature. The elf nature would be the higher awareness beings who have achieved enlightenment, whatever word you want to use, the bodhisattvas. They no longer can be physically manifested because their energy has evolved to a level that the vibration of their energy is higher than what can be manifested in physical form. Dwarves are the opposite. Dwarves are energy that is so dense at a lower vibration that it cannot be physically manifested in human form, but it is on its way to becoming human. And a lot of the mythology represents that. The dragon known as Fafnir. Fafnir was a dwarf. He was a dwarf who became obsessed with gold and treasure. And his obsession with gold and treasure turned him into a dragon. What is the dragon? The dragon is nothing more than the human spinal column and the reptilian brainstem. That's it. That's what that particular kind of dragon means. That's why he became a dragon. Because that's what the reptilian brainstem is all about. It's all about a fight or flight, tend or befriend. If I can't eat it or fuck it or, store it, it's no good to me. This is the mind of the dragon Fafnir. He becomes obsessed with riches, gold and treasure. And it is the gold and treasure of what? The dwarf king. So I want you to connect all of these dots here. Dwarves are beings of life force energy that come directly out of the fabric of the universe, which itself is made up of life force energy, conscious life force energy. The gods took that energy and turned it into humanoid, meaning that it had emotion and consciousness. And that emotion and consciousness is then used to create the four directions and to create the physical reality of the universe, to give the gods their magical powers. So within you is a dwarf nature. Within you there are dwarves. The dwarves, now let's go into, we've got the ancient mythological understanding, which I've just explained to you, based on the ancient mythology. Then we have semi-modern folklore, and with that I'm talking about anywhere between, from the Middle Ages up until now in European folklore. We still hear about the dwarves. Even Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs comes from an ancient, earlier Germanic mythology. And what does Snow White do? She sleeps. She's got this sleeping sickness. This is very important. We go back into the Middle Ages and there is a magical charm that was used during the conversion to Christianity. And it's I want you to listen to this because I'm gonna bring together a bunch of things that you may not have known were connected. This charm is called Against a Dwarf, with dwerg. That's the Old English. With originally meant against. Now it means together. Mid, like in German, mid means with. There was mid and with. With means against. Against a dwarf. So this chant was to fight off a dwarf. And this is for when somebody had a sleeping sickness. So some type of a sickness where somebody is afflicted in their sleep, in dreams. They're afflicted by their dreams. So this tells you where the dwarves are most active. They're most active in the dream state. Now, it's important that you understand that we have three minds. We have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind means just that. You're totally unaware of it. Now, your unconscious mind has all of your beliefs, all of your assumptions, all of your fears. It also has all of your karmic patterns. It has your true destiny. This is in the part of you that you're not consciously aware of. And the whole point of meditation and spiritual work is to become conscious of what is in the unconscious mind. For instance, there have been stories, and I can't say if they're true or not, but I believe them, of spiritual masters who have achieved whatever you want to call enlightenment. If there is such a thing, it means that somebody is fully conscious of their unconscious issues. Okay? They're fully conscious of everything. They're completely conscious of their thoughts, their feelings, their motives, what drives them. They've worked through all of their resentments, their fears, and they've achieved some kind of enlightenment, which means that they're aligned on all three levels of their mind. And I think it was Timothy Leary. I can't remember who it was. Or No. I forget his name. Anyway. You'd remember his name if I told you who it was. So he was with his Hindu guru, his Hindu master, and he said, and this is when acid, LSD, was making its rounds, and people were tripping out on LSD and having expanded conscious awareness, and it was touted as this spiritual thing that would get you more spiritual and all that. And so he gave a hit of acid to this teacher, who took it, and nothing happened. And he told the guy ahead of time, he said, it's not going to do anything to me. And he says, no, try it, it'll expand your awareness. And he says, okay. He took it, nothing happened. He had no shift in his awareness. Another story of somebody who gave a Zen master, somebody who had achieved some kind of mastery in Zen meditation, emptiness meditation, and gave him a hit of acid, and same thing, told him, you take this, it's going to expand your awareness, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay. So he takes it, and then the guy asks him, so what are you seeing? What are you feeling? He says, you know what, all I have is I just have a slight headache. So what does this mean? It means that when your three minds are in alignment, then you can't get assaulted by your unconscious mind. When people drop acid or do any other myriad of chemicals, hallucinogens, power plants, entheogens, whichever word you want to use, what's happening is that you're tapping into your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind has all kinds of wonderful experiences in it, but it's still your unconscious mind. So people trip out and they see lights and beauty and they talk to things and they love. And that's their unconscious mind. Those are their fantasies in their unconscious mind. It's still your unconscious narcissism, but they're having a good experience of it. People take any one of these things and they have a bad trip, and they say demons and they see ghosts and blah, 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 and they, all that. All that's happening is all their fears, their unconscious fears, have now been released into their environment. That's all that's happening here. The unconscious mind itself is a very powerful portal into the other realms. So when we do have experiences where we have shamanic dreams, or when we have visions, it is our unconscious mind that is tapping into very real entities and very real places. So I'm not trying to say that just because your unconscious mind is involved that it's all illusion. But the unconscious mind is the realm of both illusion and your deepest awareness. But the goal is to become conscious of these things in your conscious awareness. This is the goal. This is why meditation is aligned in so many traditions about becoming enlightened, which just simply means you're aware of what's going on in your unconscious mind. Let me just demystify it. That's all it is. And that's the whole goal of spirituality, psychology, ideally religion. That's the whole point of all of it. So what does this have to do with dwarves? Dwarves are beings who reside in the subconscious mind. 99.99% of the time when anybody uses the word subconscious mind, especially when they're talking about shamanism and spirituality and the secret and law of attraction, they mean the unconscious mind. People don't know the difference between the subconscious and the unconscious. If you want to master magic, you have to know the difference between the subconscious and the unconscious. If you do not know the difference, you will continuously be confused. You will have success followed by failure, followed by at some point it'll just become, it used to work for me, it doesn't work anymore. Sorry, I'm really enjoying my little concoction here. I made some tea, and then I put some Martinelli's sparkling grape apple juice in it. It's really tasty. Anyway, so the subconscious mind is where the dwarves live. Now, in mythology, we are told that the dwarves live in caves. What does that mean? Just under conscious awareness. Because outside of the caves, it's said that when sunlight hits dwarves, they turn into stone. What that means is that they don't live in conscious awareness. They lose their power in conscious awareness. Their power is when they are just beneath conscious awareness in the realm of dreams. Okay? And that generally I'm talking about is the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is when you're not asleep and you're not awake. It's most powerful when you are in those shamanic states of mind where you are meditating or you're in a shamanic trance, where you can consciously direct your intention, your visualization, your imagination to create. That is when the subconscious mind is really the most active and is most helpful to you. For me, what I do, I have a technique I've used for decades now, which is, especially when I'm working, I'm constantly working on something. But when I have a specific thing that I want to accomplish in my life, that I know needs spiritual power to accomplish it, then what I do is, in the morning when I wake up, you wake up I wake up probably 2 or 3 times, in an 8-hour sleep period. Wake up once about 4 hours in, I go take a pee, and then I go back to sleep, and I sleep for another 2, maybe 3 hours, and then I wake up one more time. And so that last time, when I know that I've got about an hour left in my sleeping, I'll go back to sleep, and as I'm falling asleep, I will analyze the dreams that I can remember of having. And I will ask myself what they mean, because that's when I'm in my subconscious mind, that's when I have the ability to still access the unconscious stuff, which is what dreams are. Dreams are nothing more than the unconscious mind trying to work things out. I can still access that and interact with it and sort of ask the characters in the dream, who do you represent? What are you? What do you mean? And if I can get to a place where I'm in enough of a dream state where my dreams will talk to me, then I can have a lucid dream. I'm well aware of what's going on. I could choose to wake up at any point in time. I'm not so asleep that I can't wake myself up. But I'm still in enough of a dream state that I'm not in conscious reality. And these are the times when I get the most profound shamanic messages and visions and awareness, and a lot of them turn into books that I write and videos like this one. This is where I became aware that dwarves were more than what I have thought of. And this was a dream I had very recently. As you know, if you've read my books, I talk about that dwarves are emotional creatures, that dwarves create the physical universe, and especially through magical intention, the dwarves are the beings that go out and create our world. If we are out of alignment, if our higher self is not instructing our lower self, our subconscious and unconscious, if our unconscious mind is not getting direction from our higher self, then we live in chaos. Then your dwarves will create poverty, illness, sickness, physical tragedy, emotional tragedy, all the bad luck, the curses. This is what the dwarves do when they are not receiving instruction from the higher awareness or from the elves. This is shown extremely well in Tolkien's work. And this is why I think Tolkien is a higher vibration of Norse mythology, because if you know, Tolkien's entire body of knowledge that drove him to write about all the things he wrote about is Norse mythology. That's the basis of all of his research comes from that. So he took that to another level. By the way, if you don't know, Tolkien's intention was specifically to create a modern mythological story for the UK. A lot of people want to focus on, well, he went through World War II and Sauron is Hitler and all that. And when people asked him about it, they said, no, 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 no. That's not what this is about. Obviously, he must have been influenced by all that stuff, but that's not what this was about. He said he wanted to create a mythology for modern UK. That's what he did. And so I do believe that he was actually channeling information and creating a higher resonance of Norse mythology. So what he did in that, which we don't see as much in earlier Norse mythology, is he created a dynamic between the elves and the dwarves, which I think is absolutely correct. When the dwarves are in alignment with the elves, they literally worship the elves. And what do the elves represent? The elves represent our highest awareness. They are, in fact, human beings that have achieved transcendence. These are human beings that have achieved their highest awareness and, like bodhisattvas, no longer need to be human. Their only interaction with us is to help us do two things: achieve our highest evolution while simultaneously being aware that everything that we do ripples out and affects everybody else's evolution. So the elves, when they speak to you, sometimes it's just, you're getting some information from your higher self or in meditation, and you start to think to yourself, what I really need is to understand that when I act like this, it hurts people in this way and it causes them to do that. Or, if I do this and I share this with people, then the world will evolve on this level. This is how the elves communicate. They're first and foremost going to come in and talk to you about what you need to do for your awareness, for your highest awareness. And then to help you with that, then you will start to see how the butterfly effect happens. That's when you think along those terms and you feel motivated to make your life better or to do this or to treat people better, that's the elves talking to you, always. Now, when that part of your mind, when you are listening to that part of your mind, you automatically connect an energetic communication between your third eye to your navel center. And then the dwarves in the subconscious mind, and of course all of the things going on in your unconscious mind, start to align. And the dwarves worship. They worship your highest awareness. And then the dwarves work tirelessly to manifest things in your life which will promote your highest awareness and your ability to give and help others towards their highest awareness. And just like in Tolkien's book, especially in The Hobbit, we see there's this war between the elves and the dwarves. And the symbolism in that, whether he knew it or not, I don't know, but the symbolism in that is extremely important. Because the symbolism is that the dwarf king, underneath the mountain, remember, in his subconscious mind, he is obsessed with riches. And so they have these smiths and mines where they dig for gold and precious metals and precious stones, and he was obsessed with hoarding wealth. And among those were some gems that belonged to the elves. And so there's this war between the elves and the dwarves, because the elves are coming because they want their ancestral gems of power. And the dwarf king refuses to give it to them. And so at the end of the book, or the end of the movie, whichever you see or experience, there's a battle that is about to take place. And what's interesting is that the battle never happens. And there's a reason for that. Because what happens as soon as these two armies face off with each other is that the orc army shows up. The orc army shows up, and then everybody, including men and elves and dwarves, have to turn and fight the orcs. So the orcs represent complete self-destruction, similar to Fenris. Represents the worst in us, the most self-destructive, self-sabotaging, shame, self-hatred, guilt, violence, just the worst aspects within us. What it means is that when we are disconnected and we're not listening to our higher selves, and we are operating out of our own fear, which is what? Again, the dragon, the reptilian brainstem connected to the spinal column is the dragon. When we become simply a physical being that is driven by fear and physical survival, we become a dragon. And we begin to hoard our resources. When this happens, the elves and the dwarves are at odds with each other. And the dwarves rebel against the elves. And they believe that the higher self is out to get you. So this is when people start having crazy fantasies about, whatever it is. The archons, the aliens. This means that you're disconnected, you're so wrapped up in fear that you can't even see your higher self. You see them as evil archons or, whatever. So in the book, when they're about to go to blows, because you can't, when it really comes down to it, the elves they don't fight with the dwarves. That's never going to happen. The dwarves may want to fight against the elves, but of course they can't. But that's why in that book, they're about to go to war and then the orcs show up. It means that when you're disconnected, all of the worst in you starts to come. And then for your own survival, you have to then rally your human nature, your dwarf nature, and your elf nature to fight against that so that you can overcome your own self-destruction. That's what that's all about. And so it also means that the gems that the elves had that the dwarves were hoarding, it means that when we're in that state of being like a dragon and trying to hoard everything, we're even taking the gifts that we have that's given to our highest awareness, we're trying to use them for our own self-protection out of fear. And so this is what this symbology is. So getting back to the idea of, so I'm trying to just give you the basics so that you can understand what all this stuff means. So I became aware that dwarves are actually energetic portals to magical power. So in order to understand that, we need to look at what the word dwarf means. Dwarf is, it's actually the F sound. One of the things that happens is that the GH sound, the g sound, in modern Germanic languages often turns to an F. So the original word for dwarf is dwerg, dwerg, dwerg. And the etymology isn't exactly clear. According to some, the etymology is that it goes back to a word that means small. And according to others, it goes back to a word that means door. So the word door comes from dwara, dwar, which sounds a lot like dwerg. Now, I don't know which one it is. I'm perfectly okay with it meaning small. And for me, that would represent the human being would be of normal stature. So somebody who's only operating from their emotional self. They're not quite a dragon, but they're not quite a human. They're on their way towards becoming human. They're not fully in their man, their meditative mind. So they're just a dwerg. They're just a dwarf. They're smaller. They're not full size. And I think that turned into actual people seeing dwarves as being smaller than humans. But just like emotions, emotions are not something you can physically see. They're very real. You're driven by your emotions. They have tremendous power. In fact, I would say they're, the most powerful tool that you have is to have access to all of your emotions. The law of attraction tries to harness this when it says that, think about having your multi-million-dollar mansion and then put a lot of happy feelings to it. They're on the right track, but they don't understand the dynamics of it. I don't have time to get into that. But they're on the right track because it is the emotional power that gives us the power to become magical. Now, the thing is, you can't just arbitrarily paste an emotion on something. That doesn't work. Really, you want to feel your emotions authentically, which means instead of trying to impose on your life, for example, I want to have a multi-million-dollar mansion that will make me happy. Most of the time, you are mistaken. And so somebody says, oh, you have to feel happy about it. So you try and paste a happy feeling out. But that's different from having an actual feeling that is coming authentically from inside of you. When you think about something that your soul truly wants, you will start having a happy feeling. You will feel an excitement about it. That excitement is really where the magic is. That's the magic that will create every single time. The one where you try to manufacture a feeling and paste it onto something, that's not going to work. It's because it's not coming from what you truly want. It's not an authentic emotion. So, dwarves are doorways. So even though I am not convinced that the word dwarf comes from dwar, which means door, I still think that the similarity in sound is working for us. And I do believe that dwarves are, in fact, doorways. Emotions are doorways to the realm of the dwarves, the realm of magic. And so we can use this power when we're doing our rituals, specifically when we're doing meditations where we're imagining what we want to create. Now, we do this naturally anyway. This is a natural human tendency that is, in fact, magical. Whenever you become really passionate towards something, you spend a lot of time imagining what it is, and you experience a lot of emotion around what you want to create. And so the emotion is the dwarf that goes out and creates that intention and brings it into your physical reality. This is the power of dwarves. Why do dwarves hoard gold? Gold represents life force energy. So remember, dwarves are made of life force energy. That means your emotions are, in fact, repositories of life force energy. So if we live in a chaotic fashion where we're unconsciously, living our lives and we're psychologically screwed up, and you have, people who are constantly flipping out and having temper tantrums or crying jags or depressed or, some kind of craziness, what that is that's spiritual energy that's actually being siphoned out of you. And we have two extreme tendencies when it comes to our feelings. There's three. One is in the middle where you have all of your feelings, you are fully conscious of all of your feelings, and you take conscious constructive action towards them. That is how you use them for magical purposes. The two other extremes are we either stuff them down, because feelings can be very uncomfortable, even happiness. I can remember times being so happy that it was really uncomfortable for me. But the same is true with sadness and anger, regret. These are uncomfortable feelings, self-hatred, disgust, shame. These are uncomfortable feelings, and so we try and push those down. The other thing that we do with feelings is we act out on them in order to dissipate the energy. So having a temper tantrum, getting into a fight, going and doing something destructive, going to Vegas and blowing all of your money. This is why people have parties on the weekend. Ever notice that? I'm not one of those people. I don't like loud gatherings. I don't like loud noise. It's hard for me to even go to just a basic restaurant and eat because it's so loud. People get a couple drinks in them and then the volume goes up. And it's just, I don't like being around it. I prefer calm, peaceful surroundings. I like being out in nature. I really don't like that overstimulation. But it's because I'm very empathic. And so I can feel that what's happening is that most people, they can't handle their feelings, so they have to blow it off. They have to blow off some steam. And it's really an act of aggression. But if you get a bunch of people in the same mindset, they have fun and they drink, and then the next day they have a hangover, whatever. They go to Vegas and blow it on, hookers and gambling, and they're releasing all of that pent up energy. I hate being in Vegas, by the way. I mean, the last time I was in Vegas, I was actually hiding in the corner because all of the psychic weirdness that was flying around, I couldn't take it. That's why I like being in nature. I like quietness. This is why I live near the ocean, by the way. I live near the ocean because the ocean has this power to siphon off excess emotional energy. This is why I like to surf, because when I go out in the water, the ocean, takes away all of the excess and then allows me to have my feelings in a conscious way. So it's a very spiritual experience for me. And this is why, when it comes to healing, people do things like take baths in Epsom salts. It's the same idea, because the salt water does that. It cleans the aura of all of the built up emotional gunk that's there. That's why it's so healing. This is why people do drugs, why people smoke pot especially. They can't tolerate their anger, they can't tolerate their pain, and it puts them in a state where they feel happy all the time, but they're shoving their feelings down. Drinking is the same way. People drink to deal with their anger, their resentment, and their rage, and it does the opposite. It preserves it as opposed to heals it. And this is why people who drink a lot are always angry, they're always cranky. It's because their liver, which is where you process your rage and your anger, your liver has been debilitated, and so they can't process their rage and their anger. So this is a lot of stuff. You thought I was just going to talk about little people in funny hats, but no, this is what the dwarves are. The dwarves are emotional energies within you. And so one of the things that you can do, first off, here's what I recommend. If you want to be successful in anything, but most people are driven by survival, which is first and foremost, people want money. And I'll tell you why you want money in your life. You think you want money because if I have money, then I can buy all the stuff that I need to physically support myself, and I can do what I want. And that's not why you want money. Money represents energy from the universe. Money represents the universe loving you, nurturing you, and taking care of you. Now, if you do not feel loved, then you are going to want a lot of money, because you are operating from the assumption that since the universe doesn't love you, you need to grab as much of that green love and put it in your bank account, and then you can love yourself with it. So it represents being nurtured and loved. People who have money problems feel unloved and unimportant. In fact, I was just, reading some of the comments, and there's, some guy left a comment on, and he made a comment about not having enough money and why, he knows that he has something to give the world, but until blah, 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 blah. So again, it's that feeling of if I don't have money, then the universe doesn't love me, which means that I don't have anything of value. So that's why, when you have money, you feel like you have value, you have worth. This is why, women who are unconscious seek after rich men. They seek after rich men because it's whenever I'm on a dating site and I read a woman who says, I'm looking for a man who is, let me see if I get the word right, who is not motivated, but something like that. I forget the exact word I'm looking for. But when she's looking for a man who is motivated, what she really means is a man who, a driven man who's motivated. What she really means is a guy who goes out and makes a lot of money. But it all represents the same thing, because she sees if he's out there making a lot of money, he has a lot of self-worth. And so I'm going to get my self-worth through him, and vice versa. Men do it with women as well. Men seek out women to be inspired so they can go out and make more money. So that's why you end up with that, that sugar daddy, sugar baby thing. The sugar baby wants money, so she seeks out a rich guy. The rich guy is looking for the young girl who's going to, at the very least pretend to look up to him and, treat him like a king, so that his ego will be fed, and then he'll go out and make more money. And he uses her as a muse. He's stealing her energy so that he can go make money, and she's stealing his money, and in exchange for that, giving him her energy. But it's not a real connection. It's coming from fear. It's coming from feeling unloved and unworthy on both sides. Money represents feeling loved. So the dwarf king who is hoarding all of the gold is coming from fear, which turns him into a dragon, and then the dragon hoards the gold. So what this means is that the dwarves are life force energy beings who, when you are in your highest awareness is speaking to your lower self, which is also connected to your subconscious mind, where your dwarves, your emotions live. And because of this connection, they are being fed life force energy. Because they are fed with life force energy, they go out at night. When you're sleeping, in your dreams, they go out to create and manifest your world for you. When you are in your highest awareness, you are aware that when you are connected to your soul, you are connected to infinite life force energy, which gives you joy and happiness. That is given to your emotional being, which are your dwarves, which are fed by that life force energy. They go out and create your wealth, your success, your happiness, and it creates this self-feeding cycle. The happier you are, the more energy you get, which makes them happy, which makes them go out and work for you, which makes you happy, which makes them happy. When you want to step your game up, then you employ energy techniques. This is magic. This is why energy practice is seen as magical. When you sit and like you do in the celestial qigong, you do the waterfall exercise where you inhale and exhale, inhale, exhale. And you imagine energy coming down through all of your nerves and all the way down into the ground, and you feel empowered when you do that. You feel peaceful, you feel relaxed. These are things that empower your dwarf nature, which allows you to go and create. So whenever you're doing celestial qigong, whenever you do celestial qigong, at the end of it, I recommend every single time that you think about what you want to create. Because now your dwarves, who are the emotional beings that create the universe, they are now fed with life force energy. They feel loved, they feel nurtured, you feel loved, you feel nurtured. And then you take that and put it towards what it is you really want in life. You want love, you want a career that not only gives you financial empowerment, but gives healing and awareness to others. That's the best time to do it. This is why I keep telling you guys about this 4-tool system that I'm now putting together. You need all 4 of the tools. You need your destination, which is knowing what your soul desire is and your purpose on this earth, your true career is when the universe pays you to be your true authentic self. The battle is within you to try and find out what that is, and you will battle psychologically with yourself against your ideas of what your parents and society wants from you, your spouse, your parents, and whatever, and what your soul wants. So when you know what your soul wants, you know what your destination is, you have the map. Then you need the vehicle. The vehicle is life force energy. Without life force energy, you can't get to your destination. And in this case, you can't use life force energy to empower your subconscious mind to go intend your reality through magic. The third tool is, what is the third tool? You have the destination, the vehicle, and the rules of the road. So the third tool is knowing the 5 rules to master the matrix. What is the matrix? The matrix is none other than Emir, the life force energy that is the boundaries of the universe. The boundaries of the universe, the boundaries of the matrix operate under 5 very specific rules. If you understand what those rules are, you can command the matrix to do what you want and give you what you want and allow you to achieve your destination. And the 4th tool is shamanic ritual. And shamanic ritual means knowing, how the 8 directions are and things like mantra and using the power of the planets and using the gods and the ancestors and the dwarves in specific shamanic ritual to then bend the laws of reality and create your reality. When you do that, you're no longer in the matrix. You're outside of the matrix and you're controlling it. These are the 4 tools. And that's what this link up here is, neo.thunderwizard.com, is those 4 tools. So we're going to be talking more about this, and I'm going to be giving specific rituals and things that you can do on the Manifestation Mastery course, which is the 4th tool. So go to that. Go to thunderwizard.com to get connected to that. Starting next month, as soon as YouTube allows me to come back in and do live YouTubes, I'm going to now start doing live question and answers just for the Patreon community. Just for people who are on the thunderwizard.com community at the Manifestation Mastery level and above. All of those people will have direct access to the live Q&As. I'm still going to be doing Q&As on the YouTube channel, but that is going to be, it's going to be limited to just your average looky-loo who's coming on. And as you know, they ask a lot of general questions and, all of that. So if you've been following all of this and you've been practicing all this stuff, or if you really want to get past just the fluff and you want to get to the meat of it, then you want to go to those Q&As, which will start happening very soon, in the next few weeks. So that's my talk, some talk about dwarves. We're going to get into some deeper stuff on this because I want to go very deep into the power of dwarves, very deep into the power of emotions, and really start unlocking the power of the subconscious mind, which is the muscle that actually creates the universe and creates your reality. Okay, so we will talk about that coming up here very soon. All right, talk to you soon.